Hospitals are cutting back in all areas, and they seem to be cutting at the bedside, not in the upper echelon of the runnings of the hospital. And the patients suffer every day.
I do think that corporate healthcare is an oxymoron. I mean, you can't incorporate healthcare. It's not a company.
Even working in a Catholic hospital, their main objective is to make money. We were supposed to be serving the patients first. That's supposed to be our first priority, and I don't see that.
It's becoming a corporate practice, but we as the people who do the job should bring it back to what it's about. It's about taking care of the patients, making sure they're safe, making sure we're there at the bedside to take care of them.
Whatever they do at one hospital that's not unionized, the hospital down the street that's not unionized will do the same thing to save money, yeah, and so forth and so on, until it becomes common practice.
We need a union that fights for us, fights for our issues: staffing, mandatory overtime, good contracts, good wages, and there isn't any, so we have to form our own union.
We wanted PASNAP to be the union for staff nurses in Pennsylvania. We wanted it to be run by nurses and all about nursing. When we were with PNA, it was all about the hospitals and administration. When we were with the teachers, it was all about education and the teachers. So our goal was to replace PNA as the voice for staff nurses and have our own strong union to do that.
I think for the first time, I feel like I have a voice. I'm a part of it. We were in another union before, and it seemed like other people were making decisions, and we were sort of going along with it. I feel like we're part of this decision making.
We could scream and holler and shout, but we needed somebody else to get us to those people who are going to hear our voices. You know, beyond the direct supervisor, beyond a low-level manager. We needed the CEOs, the CFOs. We needed other people to say, these people mean business.
The nurses at Butler put together an incredible campaign. We had a march through town that stretched for probably a half a mile long, of people marching from the center of the city to the hospital. And I think once the hospital saw that breadth of support, they had a couple more very aggressive moves on their part, but 5 days before a strike deadline, the hospital finally caved in and said, we're going to recognize the union, we're going to give you a good contract, and we changed the relationship.
Chants and protests on the picket line at a Wyoming Valley hospital. The nurses strike at Wilkes-Barre General. Our lead story on Pennsylvania Midday.
What's at stake here is quality patient care, and you can't have quality of care in this community or anywhere in Pennsylvania if you're going to force someone to work 16 straight hours.
Well, back at that time, we had a terrible problem with mandatory overtime. That was one of the main issues at my hospital. We were mandated. Somebody was mandated on every floor almost at least once or twice a week. It was the way they staffed the hospital. It was abusive.
You're up over 24 hours making critical decisions, giving high-risk medication to people, and it just increases the chances of you making a mistake and not only hurting your license, but potentially seriously hurting a patient.
We won our campaign on the state level to have a ban on mandatory overtime. We're involved in politics because our bosses are involved in politics. The legislature and all the governing bodies make all kinds of rules and regulations in which hospitals operate. If you want to have an impact on that, then you need to be involved as well.
We see having a strong movement of healthcare professionals as not only being important for those professionals and for those patients, but also for moving our country in a more progressive direction. PASNAP has grown 65% since our founding in 2000. We've added 8 local chapters throughout the state, and it's been a struggle every step of the way, but it has absolutely been worth it for those members and worth it for the growing and the strengthening of the union statewide.
Personally, from my experience, PASNAP is extremely supportive of its members. They give us a lot of guidance as to how to respond to administration and tell us that you're the union, and they want us to take the initiative and encourage us to do so.
We win organizing because we're honest with the professionals that we're seeking to organize. We don't tell them it's going to be easy. We tell them it's going to be hard. We don't tell them that it's going to be over quickly. We tell them it may take a while. But you know what? At the end of the day, when you're finished, you're going to be very proud of what you've achieved because now you have the opportunity to have a voice.
More than anyone in the hospital, we are on the front line.
What we've been learning from PASNAP is we will now be educating administration on how to treat us. So the more we call them on things that we know that are wrong, the more they will start getting the idea that, guess what, that will not be happening anymore.
Unionized nurses can stand up and say, no, this is not okay, and they can defend health care, and they can defend their patients and protect them. And you can no longer be fired for that, or disciplined for that, or suffer consequences for saying this is not in my patient's best interest, this is not safe.
Organizing is important because you've got power with numbers. And I think when nurses see us and see what we're doing, you know, they feel safe and they feel like they've really found a home.
We have a union that's on the rise. You know, that every place you look, you see something that says what PASNAP has done.
We're in a fight, and this is what we have to do.